From the headquarters of Tell Us Your English in Quito, Ecuador, this is From the South, and I am Soini Gray. The Workers' Party in Brazil is asking the Supreme Electoral Court to disqualify Jair Bolsonaro as a candidate for the presidency following alleged illegal messaging on social media. The Workers' Party candidate Fernando Haddad said Bolsonaro had broken electoral law with the messages. It is alleged that a number of companies spent $4 million to promote the WhatsApp campaign and on other illegal contributions to the far-right candidate.
So that there is no disrespect towards me, the fight for my dignity takes place on October the 28th. I will look to rectify the damage from the attacks Bolsonaro has made on the internet, which he has sponsored with dirty money, a campaign of defamation which has no end. I will seek to rectify this at the highest level.
Our correspondent in Sao Paulo, Ignacio Limas, has the latest.
Buenos días, saludos, repercusiones.
There are repercussions after the Folha de Sao Paulo newspaper revealed the illegal campaign donations to Bolsonaro by various companies. One of these companies paid 12 million reales or $4 million for the spreading through WhatsApp defamatory messages about Fernando Haddad, the candidate of the PT. The Workers' Party has called this electoral fraud and has demanded that the Supreme Electoral Court invalidate Bolsonaro's candidacy. The president of Bolsonaro's party, the PSL, insisted that Bolsonaro party does not carry out such actions. And on Facebook, Bolsonaro himself said he knew nothing about these activities by these companies. He didn't deny that the companies had done this in his favor. On social media, people have been commenting that it is very strange that Bolsonaro should know nothing about what happened on WhatsApp. Maupo Paulin, the director of the pollster Datafolha, said that the sending of these messages against Fernando Haddad coincided with Bolsonaro's rise in the polls, and that they played a decisive role in the first round of the election. The PDT party of Ciro Gomes, the third-place candidate, is demanding that results of the first round be annulled because of these illegal messages and other illicit contributions to Bolsonaro's campaign. The reaction of some of the big media has been interesting. Globo TV, the most powerful in Brazil, dedicated just 30 seconds to this accusation of electoral fraud in its main news program.
We thank Ignacio for that report. The U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is heading to Mexico as tensions rise over the migrant caravan trying to reach the United States. On Thursday, Pompeo was in Panama, where he discussed the management of migratory flows from Central America with President Juan Carlos Varela. His visit comes as the U.S. President Donald Trump threatens to send the military to close its southern border if Mexico doesn't stop the caravan of migrants from Honduras.
But they wanted that caravan, and there are those that say that caravan didn't just happen. It didn't just happen. A lot of reasons that caravan, 4,000 people, but I just want to thank the Mexican government because they're stopping it, hopefully, before it ever gets to Mexico. As you know, I'm willing to send the military to defend our southern border if necessary. All caused because of the illegal immigration onslaught brought by the Democrats because they refuse to acknowledge or to change the laws. They like it. They also figure everybody coming in is going to vote Democrat, you know.
Mexico's foreign secretary has responded to Trump, saying that his country does not negotiate or do diplomacy through Twitter. Luis Videgaray insists that Mexico wants to find permanent solutions to the Central American migration issue. He said Mexico has asked the UN Secretary General and the UNHCR to help with the migrant caravan, and he suggested that Trump was using it to boost the Republican campaign ahead of November's midterm elections.
The truth is that we must understand the political moment in which the United States is in, and put President Trump's statements in that context. I believe that we should not give them more weight than they deserve. Mexico already has a lot of experience in knowing statements of this type from President Trump, and we do not negotiate it or do diplomacy through Twitter.
Mexico's government has warned the Honduran migrants on the caravan of the risk they face when entering the country. In light of this, caravan leaders held talks with Mexico's ambassador in Honduras and with representatives of the National Migration Institute. One of the main concerns is their exposure to human traffickers. They also discussed the requirements for visa applications. Meanwhile, Mexican President-elect Andrés Manuel López Obrador says he will offer work visas to migrants when he takes office. He added that this is a way of giving an alternative to those who decide to leave their countries. The president-elect also rejected the threats of U.S. President Donald Trump to stop migrants from reaching the United States. The main body of the caravan of Honduran migrants left Guatemala City on Thursday, heading towards the border with Mexico. In all, the caravan has now grown to some 5,000 people.
Although many could get not a proper night rest due to cramped conditions at shelters, they still managed to set out early in the morning to reach the city of Tecúnuman. They say whatever happens, they've ruled out returning to Honduras as an option, because there are no opportunities there.
The government does not look for companies to come to Honduras to generate wealth, and the truth is, we do not have any opportunities.
The United States president has called those who comprise the Honduran caravan criminals, and he's blaming Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador for sending them to the U.S.
We are not part of criminal groups. We are people who need jobs. In Honduras, only high-class people can secure employment.
Severe unemployment is what has driven Hondurans out of their homeland. Now they're desperately searching for a better life.
We don't have enough payment. Our bosses do not give enough money.
The people of Honduras are outrightly condemning the United States threat to withdraw financial assistance to Honduras. They question whether those funds are part of a grand corruption scheme.
They always threat with the withdrawal of money of Honduras president. We do not care about that money. We do not even know anything about that financial help.
I want to talk to President Donald Trump. He's perfectly aware of the situation Honduras is facing right now.
Migrants will have to walk around 10 hours to reach their next step. More people will join this large group of Honduran citizens in the next hour. They will meet in the city of Tecúnuman to cross the border and get into Mexico.
In a separate development, the Trump administration plans to ask the Supreme Court to intervene if a federal appeal court does not soon rule on the decision to end legal protections for young immigrants. In a letter to the appeal court, the Department of Justice set an October 31st deadline for the ruling. The Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals Program, or DACA, has protected over 500,000 children. They were either brought to the U.S. without documents or overstayed their visas. 2 student protesters have been detained in Trinidad and Tobago during a demonstration at the University of the West Indies. Police clashed with students who blocked the south entrance to highlight security issues on campus. A series of robberies and violence have been reported in recent weeks, which culminated in the alleged bloody assault of a female student. Campus principal Professor Brian Copeland attempted to allay protesters' concerns.
We have a system in place. We have a security force in place. We work with the state police. We will next week be commissioning a pilot where an app that has been created that will run on your phone that will expand our security system even more. 1,000 students will be piloting this project as of next week.
If you were a student on this campus, do you feel safe? Would you feel safe? Would you stand here and listen to an administration that is telling you we're doing all we can? It's not enough. The same remedy has failed. When will we see change? When?
In Chile, 6 young people were detained at the end of student demonstrations in the capital on Thursday. The high school students were arrested for rejecting the government's bill called Safe Classes. The initiative proposes to expel from campuses those young people who choose to participate in demonstrations considered violent. For activists, the proposal will serve to criminalize student protests.
We are here in Plaza Italia to call for a week of disobedience, together with our comrades of Quintero, demanding and saying that we want the educational communities to decide. We don't want to give more power to special forces so that they can come to repress us, because obviously we're going to defend ourselves, because we want the power to be given to the same educational communities. And we know that Safe Class is going to take all of that away, and that it gives power to only one person to decide against the educational community in its entirety.
Violence and terrorism doesn't come from the classroom. Basically, it comes from politics and the business community, because it is they who have attacked the emotional and physical integrity of all the citizens. And therefore, we feel that this is outrageous to blame the students, because they are defending their lives, their education, given that it is they who have taken everything away from us.
We'll take a short break now, but we'll have more news in a minute.
Our actions have an impact on the environment. It's our responsibility to change for the sake of our planet. Let's be part of this transition. Watch, preserve, and protect your Green Zone. Wednesdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. The Ecuadorian government has expelled the Venezuelan ambassador, Carol Delgado. The decision came after Venezuela's communication minister, Jorge Rodriguez, made some comments about the Ecuadorian president, Lenin Moreno.
I heard President Lenin Moreno saying that 6,000 Venezuelans in bad health entered in his country. That means that 149 buses had to leave Venezuela daily to Ecuador. Moreno says 1 million Venezuelans arrive to Ecuador, but that is possible only if 140 buses leave Venezuela daily for 7 years.
In response, Venezuela has declared the Ecuadorian charge d'affaires, Elizabeth Mendez, persona non grata, and says she has 72 hours to leave. In a statement, the Foreign Ministry says Moreno lied about the number of Venezuelan migrants in Ecuador and about their health conditions. The communique added that this is a consequence of the latest visit of the U.S. Vice President Mike Pence to Ecuador. But President Nicolas Maduro has expressed Venezuela's close ties with the people of Ecuador based on their shared history of the struggle for independence.
We salute our brothers and sisters in Ecuador. We love Ecuador, the great Ecuador of Antonio José de Sucre, that welcomed Simón Bolívar, the Ecuador that always expressed the values of Bolivarian brotherhood. We have always been brothers of the Ecuadorian people, brothers in Sucre, brothers in Bolívar, and brothers in the revolution. Because the revolution of South America is one and the same. Sucre gave his life for it. When the oligarchy in Quito, that traitorous and racist oligarchy in Quito, plotted with the oligarchy in Bogotá to stab in the back one of the founders of a free and independent South America.
Ecuadorian supporters of President Maduro gathered outside the Venezuelan embassy in Quito to condemn their government's decision. Members of the Ecuadorian Committee for Solidarity Amongst Peoples blamed the U.S. government for instigating the action.
We demand that this bad decision be reviewed, where those affected are not just the Venezuelan people, but all peoples in our America. Integration, peace in the region is strengthened by the belligerent actions of an outdated empire that seeks to get oil and the enormous riches of Venezuela.
Thanks for the solidarity, and we will continue to work with our fellow Ecuadorians. We will continue to work in solidarity. Tomorrow there will be another flight for our fellow Venezuelans returning home, confirming again the commitment that the Bolivarian government and President Nicolás Maduro has for his fellow Venezuelans.
Colombia is reviewing the request made by an urban cell named Llamarada to join the Special Jurisdiction for Peace. However, there are concerns as some members of the group also belong to the FARC.
During a special meeting of the Peace Commission in Congress, the president of the Special Jurisdiction for Peace and the public prosecutor, it was revealed that the group made the request.
A lower-level court was processing this case, which has been suspended since April 2017.
No armed group that has not signed a peace agreement with the government can have special jurisdiction for peace benefits.
The High Commissioner's Office for Peace has verified the list that was shared by the Public Prosecutor's Office. We now have to compare it with the SJP list. Once we do that, we can make a decision. What I can say is the identities of the persons on that list will remain confidential. What we have seen in my office is that none of the names on the list are from a group called Llamarada.
The president of the special jurisdiction says the matter should be discussed at a technical round table between the public prosecutor and Special Jurisdiction for Peace in Colombia.
I have information that some of these people are part of the list of the High Commissioner's Office for Peace, lists that were complied during the previous government's tenure.
People from the urban cell called Llamarada, who have been linked to the ELN, have not been held responsible for any violent attacks.
Perus President Martin Vizcarra has urged Spain to detain and return the former Supreme Court Judge Cesar Hinostroza. Hinostroza, who faces charges for leading a mafia involved in selling court rulings and influence peddling, fled from Peru 11 days ago. This prompted the resignation of the Interior Minister, Muro Medina.
Criminals who have fled the country will have to answer before the courts. In this respect, we are sure that Spain, a democratic country, is inserted in the international community, will not protect those who are summoned by Peruvian authorities.
Students from Trinidad and Guyana have topped this year's regional academic awards for outstanding performances in the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination. Adila Ali and another student of Queen's College in Guyana received top awards in natural sciences and mathematics. The other awards were taken by the Trinidadian students. Canada's government will move to pardon all persons with a cannabis possession record of 30 grams or less. Thousands of people stand to benefit from the move. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made the announcement after Canada legalized recreational marijuana on Wednesday. Time for the second break in this newscast. Stay with us.
Infested by inequalities, abuse of power, and injustice, the American journalist Abby Martin covers the struggle for fundamental rights worldwide, deep into the search of files which uncover the empire's strategies through our screen and web platform in English. The Empire Files with Abby Martin. Tuesday, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. In the latest development of the investigation into the disappearance of the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi, Turkish authorities have denied sharing the audio evidence of the alleged murder of the journalist in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul.
Turkey has not given a voice recording to U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo or any other American official. Chief Prosecutor of Istanbul has launched an investigation, and we are waiting for the results of this investigation.
And President Vladimir Putin says Russia will not spoil relations with Saudi Arabia as it does not have enough facts on the disappearance of the journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Putin says Russia will wait for details in the case and added that it was a pity that the journalist had gone missing. He addressed the issue while speaking at a forum in Sochi.
First of all, we should wait for the results of the investigation. How can we, Russia, start spoiling our relations with Saudi Arabia without knowing what in fact happened here? There are certain steps and even sanctions taken against Russia from time to time under imagined reasons, as I have already said, without any proof of us using chemical weapons. Also, we have destroyed our chemical weapons and the US hasn't yet. Also, they have taken this obligation on themselves. There is no evidence against Russia, but certain steps are made. Here, they are saying that there was a murder committed in Istanbul, but no steps are taken. There should be a unified approach to the problems of such kind.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has announced he will host a summit on the Syrian crisis with the leaders of Russia, Germany and France in Istanbul next week. Turkish state media reports that Syria's rebel-held Idlib province and the political process to solve the conflict will be the focus of the meeting. Russia and Turkey decided on Thursday to give more time to Islamist groups to vacate a buffer zone they were meant to leave by October 15th under a ceasefire deal. Clashes between the Palestinians and the Israeli forces in Khal al-Ashmir in the West Bank have intensified since a court ordered its demolition, defying international pressure. Let's look at the daily struggles of those villagers.
A peaceful march by the Bedouin villagers of Khan al-Mar with just one demand: not to be uprooted from their homes. As they reach the next street, Israeli forces attack this unarmed group. Israeli soldiers start beating the group and attacking them with pepper spray. Minutes later, one protester is badly injured and a woman has been arrested for resisting the army. Since September, this community of nearly 200 people has been under constant threat. Earlier this month, an Israeli court issued an order to raze their village to the ground. Days later, bulldozers start rolling into this village of goat herds and sheep herds.
These roads are being made so that the Israeli army, bulldozers and buses can enter the streets quickly, one after another for one quick attack, and to facilitate the process of evacuation and demolition as soon as possible.
We will not leave this place unless it is by force, and hopefully we will not leave even if they demolish. We will rebuild, again and again. They demolish, we will rebuild.
Residents believe this demolition reflects a border Israeli plan to push Palestinians out of East Jerusalem and the West Bank. Territories captured by Israel in the 1967 war, which the Palestinians won back. Khan al-Mar has become an emblem of the Palestinian struggle for its statehood.
If Israel takes over this place, this will mean that the same thing could repeat in 46 other Bedouin communities in this area.
With bulldozers preparing for a final offensive, this marginalized community remains determined. They know the future of their struggle depends on this piece of land they call home.
Time now to take a look at some of the other stories making headlines around the world.
Thousands of people have gathered in the city of Kherson in Crimea to pay respect to the victim of a college shooting. At least 21 people were killed and around 40 got injured in the attack. An 18-year-old student started shooting at students and teachers on Wednesday before killing himself. Authorities still investigate the reason behind the mass homicide. hundreds of Hindu devotees in the Indian state of Kerala have been blocking the entrance to a temple from female worshippers. Since Wednesday, the protesters, mainly men, are against a court order that allows women of menstruating age to enter the Ayyappa temple, which has been banned since 3 decades. About 100 riot police are still battling unsuccessfully with protesters in a bid to escort women to the temple.
The Tantri informed me that if we are attempting to take the women ahead, the Tantri would close the temple. Closing the temple is a ritualistic disaster, which we can't afford. So we have taken them up to the temple, we have given them protection up to the temple, but the darshan is something which the Lord should give with the priests consenting.
Malaysia's former Deputy Prime Minister Ahmad Zahid Hamidi has been charged with 45 offences, including money laundering and corruption. He is the leader of the opposition party, the United Malays National Organization, which was ousted in the general elections in May 2018 after 60 years in power. Zahid Hamid pleaded non-guilty and was freed on bail.
We've come to the end of this news brief. For these and many other stories, you can find them on our website at tellusyourtv.net/English. And join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Tell Us Your English, I'm Suni Gray. Thank you for watching.